What is going on, everyone? Anthony Drew Gary here, host of the How To Show, where we talk about optimizing life, money, and happiness one how to at a time. On this week's video, I want to spend some time talking about how we consume media, more specifically, how we think about what's being told to us, and how we can decipher it and come to our own conclusions about things. And so, we're in a time right now where, frankly, media is more available to us than maybe at any other point in the history of the world. And it's quite possible that we may have more time to consume it than at any point in prior history. So I want to spend some time talking about how to do this effectively. And what we're really going to spend time talking about today is the difference between causation and correlation. And the most effective way that I can think to talk about this is to switch over to Zoom so that I can show some real world examples, and we'll compare and contrast things being correlated and things being caused by different events. And so the examples that I'm going to use are real kind-hearted and real easygoing, but you can use these same sort of strategies to think about anything from things that are going on in your daily life to things that might be a little more controversial to things that are going on in our country and our world as a whole. And so this is just good reminder level thoughts to better understand how we can think about the media or the information that we're consuming. So let's switch over to Zoom. I'm recording this episode and I don't have any pants on. Wonder how the internet feels about that. Back with you now, so let's get started into this. The first example that I've got here, again, these are going to be lighthearted examples, but the ideas transcend the topics we're going to talk about, and it's really a good thought process to start thinking about the differences between how things are connected. And so let's get started. So in the upper left corner we've got for this example, we're going to think about it's hot outside. It's the middle of summer. This video is coming out in the middle of June, and so this is perfect. And so let's look at it's hot outside, and let's compare that to people sweating more. And I think that's a general truth. And so from that point of view, it's hot outside. You can say that causes people to sweat more. I think this is pretty self-explanatory, pretty simple stuff. That it would be hard to argue the connection between those being one causes the other. And let's look at it in the other direction. So we got it's hot outside, and so there's an increase in the amount of ice cream that is consumed. On a hot day, people like to enjoy ice cream. I think it's fair to say that it being hot outside causes an increase in ice cream consumption. But let's look at the other arrows that connect this triangle. Increased ice cream consumption causes people to sweat more, and that's not necessarily true. In fact, that's something that probably would not be an indicator of the other. However, if you look at it in the other direction, people sweating more could lead to an increased ice cream consumption. So it's fair to say that these two items are correlated to one another, but they're not always a direct cause of each other. So an increase in ice cream consumption is probably not going to make people sweat more. And so just to think about these things, how things can be related, but not necessarily the cause of one another, is a good thought and a good exercise to have. So let's go ahead and do one more of these. All right, so we've changed up our sentences a little bit here. And so the premise of this one is going to be it's raining outside. And so as a result of it being raining outside, we're going to have an increase in umbrella usage. More people are going to be carrying umbrellas, more people are going to be using them. And I think it's fair to say that it being raining outside causes an increase in umbrella usage. And so let's look at this the other way. It's raining outside, and so there's an increase in the number of wet shoes. Unfortunately, the umbrellas don't cover everything, so the shoes are going to get wet. So it's fair to say that it's an increase in wet shoes is a direct result because it's raining outside. So those two items are caused. There's causation that happens that comes from raining to wet shoes. But if we look at it in that third direction, An increased number of wet shoes does not always relate to an increase in umbrella usage. For example, you could be at the beach and it could be sunny, but your shoes could still be wet. And so these things, you just need to think about the truths behind them and whether or not they're always the case. And so in the reverse direction of that, an increase in umbrella usage could maybe not represent an increase in the number of wet shoes. Maybe you have a really big umbrella and it keeps your shoes dry. Just to think about these in a different way. So we've got causation here and we've got correlation here, and they're not always the same things. And so I just want to tee up a video that explains that there's a difference between whether or not something is caused by something else or whether or not something is just correlated and maybe even coincidental to another item here. And so lighthearted examples here, you can use this in your own life to mine the different information that you're consuming in the media, and just to be able to think, outside the box, or in this example, outside the triangle, at what you're looking at, what you're reading, what you're consuming, and just making sure that you're using your own filter on the information that you're obtaining to make sure that you can come to your own conclusions with it. That is going to bring this episode of the show to a close. Thank you for hanging on with me thus far, and if you have any thoughts on this episode, please leave me a comment. Let me know what you're thinking about it. And if you like this video or any other videos that I've made, be sure to hit the subscribe button so that you can be the first to know about future videos, and hit the like button for this video for the YouTube algorithm, and it'll let other people know that this is a video worthwhile and worth watching. If you have an idea for a future topic or a future guest to join me on the show, please leave me a comment about that as well. I interact with all my comments and I really enjoy doing that. So, that is it for this show. This is Anthony Drew Gary, host of The How To Show, signing off.